All right, we are live. I am so excited. Today, I have a special guest with me, and we are going to explore this concept that about our health. Health is our happiness. And so we're going to dive into manifesting good health and what that might look like for you. My name is Amirah Hall, and I have been on my own health and wellness path for over 40 years now. And especially after I was diagnosed with a chronic fatigue syndrome, and the doctors told me to go home and prepare my affairs that I could die or end up for the rest of my life in a wheelchair. And that's what launched me on a path of health and wholeness and trying to understand in terms of universal laws of metaphysics, how I was creating all that. So today I have this lovely guest with me that we're going to explore that deeper. She's also been on her path of exploring health and diving deep and understanding what it means to have good health and what health is wealth, right? And so Alexi Bracey is a health and wellness expert. She's got over 20 years of experience in helping people heal from the inside out. And after being diagnosed with cancer more than 20 years ago, Alexi discovered the power of aligning the emotional, mental, and physical systems of the body. And she became cancer-free in just 1 year without any medical intervention, drugs, or surgery. Yay, that's amazing. Inspired by her own healing journey, Alexi made a switch. She was a traditional chef, and she shifted to plant-based chef. And she's been dedicating herself and empowering individuals to take control of their life, their health, and their well-being. With a wide range of resources at her disposal, Alexi provides valuable tools and knowledge to support others on their healing journey. And currently, Alexi's focus has been on inspiring professionals to optimize their health habits for improved well-being, happiness, and longevity from the inside out. Her expertise and guidance is easy for me to say, is aimed at helping individuals make positive changes in their lives, ultimately leading a better overall health and greater sense of fulfillment. And through her extensive experience, Alexi continues to make a significant impact by sharing her message of hope, healing, and empowerment. Welcome to my YouTube space, Alexi. I'm delighted to meet you and share with my fellow Canadian about this journey that we've both been on. So tell us how, you mentioned in your bio that you started off with a health crisis. Was that the beginning for you?
Yeah, absolutely. But before I start, thank you so much for this opportunity
Oh,
to
you're
share
so welcome.
my message as well. Yes, I mean, I wasn't, I was pretty aware of what I ate. Like I wasn't a fast food junkie. I'd have a hamburger once a month or whatever, but there were other things that I was doing that caused me to be diagnosed with cancer because I was out of alignment in some capacity. And I'll never forget when I had that phone call. It was the first Monday after the turn of the century.
Wow, that is pivotal.
I know. And like the phone rang at 10 after 9, and the phone says, "You have cancer. We want to book you in for your surgery." And it was like dead silence for 5 seconds. And I just said, "Thank you." And I quietly hung up the phone. And I knew in my heart of hearts then I was going to beat it. I had no idea how, because I knew nothing about cancer.
And that was pre-internet.
Well, that's just it. That's just it.
Yeah, there was no resources.
Yeah, so I spent hours at bookstores and libraries doing research. And, I adopted a raw food diet at the time because I was living on the West Coast and the raw food movement was like a really hot item. And so I switched hats from a traditional chef to a raw food chef hat at the time. And I now sort of changed it a little bit to plant-based. And, delve deep into getting rid of environmental toxins in my home, environment toxins in my brain, random acts of forgiveness, like some emotional work. And I was cancer-free in a year. And
That's
so that
amazing.
really started my journey, because I had no idea cancer, diet, that they were related. I had no idea. Like I was totally green in that department.
Yeah.
And so the last 20 years, it's been everything from functional medicine to holistic to environmental toxins to mindfulness to you name it. Just there's just so many components that fit into a person being healthy. And we're not one size fits all Barbie dolls, so different things are going to be maybe not functioning as well in different people.
And don't you find too, yes, body, mind, spirit detox. I know for myself, I had a toxic upbringing, and a lot of those belief systems were probably contributing to my own ill health. Did you find anything like that, a correlation in your upbringing, or was it mostly physical where you began?
Well, no, everybody has been traumatized to some degree as a child or even later. And, it's issues of self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence. And we got it from our parents, and their parents got it from their parents. So it just sort of hands down. It's like a cascade. And so, I've got techniques too, and there's a lot of other professionals out there that will help you to
Mhm.
resolve those issues so you feel confident and worthy and deserving and go out and make your impact in the world.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I do clear ancestral patterns. And when I look at it, it's fascinating how, you might not be an alcoholic, but if your great grandfather was an alcoholic and a rageaholic, those genes, those cells, literally, and the energetic component is passed down along. So but again, I think the best place is for us to just start with what we've got, right? And what's visible or what's apparent to us. So when you were working as a chef, so that was your work, your career, and then you shifted to plant-based. Did
Yeah,
you also shift?
I had a catering business,
Okay.
and, and so I shifted into just private chef work. And then when for the last like 20 some odd years, I've taught food classes. I worked at the Holistic School of Nutrition in Canada, worked at a wellness spa, teaching people about plant-based diets and detox and everything. So teaching is really, for me, I just love it, because you inspire people, you show people, you let people sample. And so even today, I give out samples to people on my walks, not that I want business from it, just to show random acts of kindness. So I do these raw, gluten, dairy-free little cashew balls and coconut truffles, and I just hand them out to people on their walks, and just to put a smile on their face, to make them cheer up, just, because everybody can use a smile. Everybody
Oh
can use a
boy.
smile.
And chocolate, is there any chocolate? Did I hear chocolate in
Oh
there?
yeah. Oh yeah. Have to have chocolate there.
Yeah, that'll brighten up anybody's walk. Yeah, that's awesome. So, and are you still working as a chef?
No, not anymore. I'm focusing more exclusively on getting my word out, or the word out, to promote happiness on a larger scale, because the recent study came out a couple months ago, and the happiness levels across the planet have really plummeted. Canada's 15th out of 100, the United States 18th out of 100, and we've never been so low. The pandemic had its big impact on the world. There's no doubt about it, but we've sort of lost our direction and our what's important in our life. We're so focused and so driven with achieving the car, the boat, the financial freedom. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but when you're happy first, then you will be successful. It's not the other way around.
And not only that, you can appreciate your success. I was just a few days ago, I talked about this concept in my work. It's called scarcity versus sufficiency. And scarcity is that energy or that concept where we never have enough time. When I talk to people, well, they're all frazzled or some aspect of their life is not working, especially their career or their financial world, they're frazzled. And I said, well, are you meditating, or are you taking some time for you? If you don't have 20 minutes, you need 40 minutes. If you don't have 40 minutes in your day to give to you, then you need an hour, but the whole idea is we have enough time, we have the energy, we have the ability to focus, but we have to allocate that, making a slot and putting ourselves first. A lot of people are running on this concept of scarcity. There's never enough energy. There's never enough time to prepare a healthy meal, or to sit down and figure out what is a better food combination for that body that you're living in. Yeah, so we just don't take the time, and no wonder we're not happy, right? No wonder. When I was living overseas, Alexi, in Dubai, they appointed a happiness minister. And I thought that was so amusing. And honestly, it wasn't until I came back to the US 5 years later, I started to see exactly what you're talking about. And I think there's been a progressive increase of really dissatisfied people, you know, in not only their career, they keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I know in a lot of corporations, they're downsizing, so people are working harder and longer. Are you noticing, you know, the professionals you work with, that there's less and less time that they allocate to themselves?
Absolutely. And then they're stressed being in work, the overload with projects and assignments, and then they come home and take that stress and share it, so to speak, with the family. And so then everybody's stressed, and the kids are stressed because they're being bullied at school, or they flunked an exam, and the wife is stressed because the kids aren't behaving. So
Yeah.
it's just a vicious circle.
Yeah, no, I've witnessed that myself with clients, and you know, they kick the dog and the kids are screaming and they won't calm down and they don't have time to meditate. And I said, well, the kids are screaming because you're not giving them the attention. And then they're upset because you're not giving yourself that TLC that you really need, a timeout, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember back in the 90s, I had I guess a manager, a regional manager, that pulled me aside and told me that I was headed for burnout. That was the first time I had ever heard that word. And I'm like, what's burnout? Well, what do you mean? I mean, I'm a type A personality, and I was striving to reach all my goals and to reach the awards, and cooking meals and commuting and looking good and blah, 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 right? We had all of those little slots filled up. And yeah, and so that's what happens. That's what happens. I burnt out. He was absolutely correct, because he could see the symptoms, you know, and then you have no energy. Well, because you're eating great, you're making a lot of money, and you're eating in great restaurants, and you're having a good life, you're drinking and celebrating all the time, and you just don't take the time. You know, I find the quiet time, that seems to be the one thing that is missing most from people's lives at this time.
Oh, I agree.
Not to mention the diet, but
Yeah, like, we don't just eat with our mouth, we eat with our ears, we eat with our eyes, we eat with our nose. What do you hear constantly? Negative media, really loud banging music. You see negative movies, you read negative books. We're just bombarded by all this negativity, and you can't. It's suppressing your energy force, all this negativity, the frequency, because we're all 80% water. And so, think of Emoto's
yeah, I love that.
experiment with the frozen water. If you're surrounded by negativity, your snowflake is all shriveled up. But if you're beautiful and practice self-care and love and share and happy, then it's a beautiful snowflake.
Yeah.
So we're doing the same thing to our body.
That's a fascinating experiment. And for years, I would put the letters LOVE under my water bottle and just let that frequency. Of course, I had some of the crystals that the snowflakes or water flakes, crystals under my glass too. So that was fun. But yeah, your thoughts are the first part, right? That infuse you with that frequency and vibration. All the work I do is all about vibration. So I love this part. And so what are you noticing, or, sorry, I'm looking for your questions here that you wanted me to ask you, because I wanted to make sure what are you noticing is the biggest challenge with professionals that you're working with?
Like you said, not enough self-care. Definitely not enough self-care. Take a day or half a day on the weekend, or go on a retreat with no electronics. So you don't read a book on Audible, that doesn't count. It means no electronics, period. Try it.
Well, but I see when people try, a lot of people that I've noticed that freaks them out. And then there's others that are just thrive as a result of that. They're just like, wow, I didn't realize how much that was bombarding me. I know I've said this a few times on my show. I went and got a grounding sheet for
Oh,
my bed.
excellent.
Have
Excellent.
you ever used one of those?
Yes, I know they're awesome.
I
Awesome.
I honestly, I was a little bit skeptical, and I thought, well, I can return it if it doesn't work, right? But it worked like a charm. And, so I started to think how much we're affected by our electronics. Well, I've been thinking about that for a while, but the phone, the computer, the Wi-Fi signals. And then if you're in an apartment complex, you're picking up your neighbor's Wi-Fi and the ones across the way. And all of that is hitting us at such a level that it's affecting our nervous system. And then we're on this dead run and we can't figure out why we're so exhausted or why we can't focus or why we're miserable, grumpy.
Right. I know. And a big thing that people do, and they don't want to hear this, is no electronics in the bedroom ever. The bedroom is for two reasons: sleep, and you know what the other one is.
Adult fun.
So, you don't have your cell phone beside you or under your pillow in case somebody calls you. At the very least, you put it on, well, always on airplane mode at night, and at the very least, as far away from you as possible or in the other room. You don't want Netflix to go to sleep, just because your brain detoxifies when you're sleeping. And so if you're not getting the adequate sleep, you're accumulating those toxins in your brain. And we know what happens when your brain is toxic.
Yeah. Yeah, you're reminding me a few years ago, actually, I think it was just a year ago. Time is speeding up, so it's hard to remember, but I did a whole brain detox. And I've done a lot of the colon and the full system detoxes, but this was amazing because it was a 30-day, of course, special diet, but also special herbs and blends to just detox the brain. And I think for all of what we're bombarded with, I think we should probably do this on a more regular basis. It has never been my focus before, but it's I think a step up to, and electronic detox, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I know there's plenty of studies out there of what the electronics is doing to us that.
I mean, you see people in the park walking their dog on their cell phone, or a mother pushing a stroller on her cell phone. Leave those things alone. Just leave them be. Enjoy nature. What I started doing is I hug trees. And I tell you, I always get like a profound message to me that, to do this or not to do this or whatever. And it's this inner voice, my inner guidance is telling me, and I just absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Tree bathing is very popular, especially in California with big red.
God, you're cracking me up. Tree bathing. I've never heard of that. When I first moved to California from Alberta, I mean, they talked about, the land of the fruits and nuts, right? And the tree huggers. Well, I'll tell you, I don't go around hugging the trees, but the trees call me. So when I'm walking, they've got 100-year-old live oak trees in the park that I walk at. And so these beautiful trees, I mean, they're got to be like 3 feet around. Yeah, I can't even put my arms around.
Oh, no, exactly.
It's just massive. And so this tree, I'll look around and I'll ask, okay, which one of you has something to say to me, right? And so I just sort of play this game and I go sit next to them. And one time, one message really stands out to me. The tree said to me, "Ground through me."
That's very true.
And so I just allowed myself to merge with the tree and could feel its root system and its incredible strength of 100 years plus, It was powerful. And, that was as I was coming back from my walk, but it was like, I thought I was grounded. But it was a whole different feeling, just like getting those grounding mats for your bed. And for anybody who wants to know, I'll put it in the link because a few people have asked me. I'll put the link where you can get that. But it's profound. And so let's talk about food now, because you like food and I like food and everybody likes food. What would you say would be important or good grounding foods? Or is there an element to food that's grounding?
Well, definitely more fruits and vegetables, but foods that are not sprayed with glyphosates, which is the active ingredient found in Monsanto's Roundup, which has been proven to be a known carcinogen, number one. So grains, beans, legumes, potatoes, zucchini, some seeds, absolutely have to be organic, because you want the life force of the food, not the chemicals that they have been sprayed with. And of course, then organic as much as possible. EWG.org, which stands for Environmental Working Group, is a great site where you can find out the Dirty Dozen or the Healthy 15, the fruits and vegetables that have to be organic and the ones that you can get away with in being traditional. So food is a really big component. The more unprocessed, the better. So don't buy, there's a lot of misconception on the labeling on packaged vegetarian foods or raw foods, so to speak, because they have other additives and chemicals in it. So you really have to be an educated consumer, dehydrate your own. I used to teach dehydrating classes. I make crackers and falafels and latkes and pumpernickel and hamburgers and all that. They're all vegetarian, and it's a better way to live. It's a healthier way to live. I tell people in age, not my true age, I say it in Celsius, so people that are in the States have to figure it out. So I'm
I lie to myself how old I am, and it's not
yeah. So just say it in Celsius.
I don't even know.
Say it in Celsius, so then people really have to think, well, what does she mean? So then they have to get the conversion from Celsius to Fahrenheit.
I don't know if everybody will get that, Alexi.
Well, actually, I heard it. Somebody else say it, and I thought I really like that. But
oh, that's funny.
Just my cancer diagnosis, I'm not pharmaceuticals, any kind of drugs. I haven't had hip replacement, knee replacement, cataract surgery. I don't have blood pressure issues. When I go for physical to see my doctor, the first thing out of her mouth that she asks me is, who's your pharmacist? And then when I say I don't have one, they go, what do you mean you don't have one? That food be your medicine, and medicine your food.
Yeah. We were talking before we started about functional medicine. I just connected with a functional medicine doctor because I'm noticing what I'm noticing with my clients. And I started to experience this when I was living in Dubai, and I started a weight gain or I felt like something was off with my thyroid. And one thing I have observed there, almost everybody gains 20 pounds living in Dubai. When they go home, everybody's heavier. And I thought to myself, well, what is that? Because people say, oh, it's their wonderful buffets that you go. No, I didn't go to, I maybe went to half a dozen in, 5 years. So that wasn't my issue, and I was eating healthy. So I'm thinking it's the electronics. I think it's all of the chemicals or electronics that's causing and triggering the thyroid imbalances. So I've just discovered Hashimoto's, I could have never imagined that other than that, I have that's a big issue, but it's an interesting dynamic that we're living in. And I see increasingly numbers of people with thyroid issues. Are you noticing anything like that?
Absolutely. Electronics, oh my gosh, it's just through the roof. Everybody's surrounded by electronics. We eat, breathe, sleep. I mean, we can't even have dinner without electronics around us.
And microwaving, yeah.
Oh, I know. And then the smart appliances, smart meters. I mean, they all contribute to that toxic load. And then do you have an EMF tower outside your house, or how far away is that? Because it's all radiating.
Exactly. Well, when I moved to San Diego, I wasn't far away from I don't even know what this plant was, but it was a sort of I don't know, distribution center. And I'm sure that affected my health in ways that were detrimental, not to mention mold. That's another thing that people don't even look at, right? Or understand, or the air conditioning and the type of lights in their environment and work. I think one good thing I think about the pandemic, keeping everybody home, in the less, I don't know, is it less because we've got electronics at home? But I'm just thinking of the commercial environments. A lot of times the lighting or the electronics there is supercharged, right? So that can affect people. But I wanted to ask and talk more about the food you mentioned a little bit, or things that you talk about. Have you ever heard that the cause of cancer is based on, or the beginnings is parasites?
Sex is a big contributor, without a doubt. Hulda Clark has been known for that theory for many, many
Okay.
years.
Right. Okay.
And we all have parasites. If you have pets, if you have children, if you garden, use an ATM machine, a shopping cart, pump your own gas, you have parasites.
Yep. Push a
know?
grocery cart. How about
That's
that?
right.
Push a
I know.
grocery cart in the grocery store. Yeah. So I studied with Hannah Kroger back
Okay.
in the early 2000s. Bless Hannah's heart. She was very elderly at the time, and she was a pioneer along with Hilda Clark. I think they were peers,
Yeah,
and she was starting to back off because wasn't it Hilda Clark that got thrown in jail?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, and then her family, or the organization, went south of the border into Tijuana, or just around there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes. And so Hannah told us a time where she was working or talking with a cardiologist or a heart surgeon. And he said oftentimes that, this was in previous years. I don't know if this is continuing, but they would open up a patient, let's say, to do heart surgery, and they'd see worms all over the place, and they'd just close them up and say inoperable cancer.
Right. That's so very true. We are inundated with parasites and we don't believe it. And then they have these 2-week parasites, which is an absolute waste of time because
Oh,
the
the
eggs,
cleanses,
yeah, because the eggs,
detoxes. Oh, I know. It's
like you
a
have to be
joke.
on one for 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 months easily.
And
Easily.
then rotate, right?
That's
It's
right.
like because the eggs, if there's any eggs there, they're going to come back and they're going to hatch at a little late. They love that nice little warm little nest that they got down there in your little tum-tum, right?
That's right. That's right. Even your pets need it,
Well, we do deparasite,
Yeah.
deworm our pets. I
Mhm.
remember my dog, that was a regular thing. We do the horses, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
So,
I find it fascinating. And so that all comes back to creating balance, right? But I remember
mhm.
my grandmother also, and a lot of other cultures, they eat the bitter herbs on a
Yes,
regular basis, right? So they used nature, like dandelions, which not only fed the liver, but it's helpful to detox, and wormwood and
that's right.
cloves and all of those yummy, awful tasting oregano. That's a nasty one, but anyway, they're very helpful. But you have to do it on a regular basis, right? You can't just do it once and think, oh, I'm good. I did a
That's
detox.
right.
It was a 7-day detox, and I'm good, and off of some cheap, not cheap, they're not cheap, but some no-name brand on the shelf at
That's
some
right.
health food store.
That's right. I know. And people that buy their
Yeah.
supplements at Costco or Walmart, excuse me, they're not, there's a reason in price differential. And some of them have a better reputation than others. And you learn how to identify the ingredients, which ones are in there that shouldn't be. Are they food-based, food grade, or are they pharmaceutically grade? Big difference, big difference.
Oh, yeah. I had a good friend in Southern California who worked for a nutraceutical company in, I think, Orange County, somewhere around there. And he told me what they do is, like, let's say you wanted to create a formula, Alexi's new, super detox, right? And what they would do is you'd say, okay, I want to use 4 brands, and I want a cross of these because I like this property in this one and this one and this one. And so what they'd say, they would reverse engineer the formulas of the ones and extract the ingredients so they could make the Alexi detox, right? And you know what he said? 95% of all of the products that they tested or that are on our shelf do not include or have the percentages that they say on the label.
I totally agree with you.
It was shocking. I heard this over 20 years ago now. And I'm sure it's not gotten any better because there's no regulation. There's no oversight committee watching any of this.
And on top of
Not
that, the amounts that they say are in the bottle doesn't mean you are absorbing that total amount either.
Very good point. Yeah,
So,
because a lot of them, especially if they're the lower grade nutraceutical, you're just peeing it out. So you think in your mind you're doing yourself good, but you're just peeing it out. Yeah. So what do we do? I mean, you mentioned whole foods and taking the time. So if this stressed out professional and they've got the kids and they've got a gazillion problems and they're trying to keep all the balls in the air, what do you say to them?
well, if you've got a family, have a garden. There's community gardens if you live in an apartment building. Start growing your own, learning how to. Sprouts are a great source of protein and vitamins and minerals. They're very easy to grow. I grow them in a mason jar.
Oh, wow.
Broccoli sprouts are very anti-cancer. Mung beans are incredible source of protein. And then I sprout lentils and um, what do you call sesame, sunflower seeds, and just the whole 9 yards. It's just living food. Support the local farmers in your community, especially in the summer months, and really learn to identify your labels to buy as much organic as you can. And in this upcoming summer now, freeze as many veggies as you can, so you've got them over the winter months, so you don't have to shop and pay exorbitant prices.
That's so Canadian. Come on. Down in Southern California or here in Southern Texas.
Yeah, you don't have to. That's true.
Pardon me. Yeah, no, they don't. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's how I think, maintained good health in Canada is Mom had a garden and we froze and we canned, in the fall and prepared for the winter. There was no lettuce. I don't even remember having a salad in the winters.
Well, I don't remember having a salad as a child, except maybe a lettuce, like your traditional leaf lettuce. But we didn't have the spinach and the kale and the arugula. We didn't have any of that kind of stuff.
No, there was no broccoli. There was no cauliflower. Well, I remember getting cauliflower a few times because she put that nice Velveeta or cheese whiz sauce on.
Oh yes. Oh my goodness.
You remember cheese whiz?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Oh, we could probably go on and on about some of those foods that were so yummy, right? I remember when they first brought out TV dinners, what a big deal that was, right? And look how far we've come,
Yes, I don't think I ever had a TV dinner in my life. We certainly never had them in the home.
No, we didn't either, but my mom saw the commercials. So she
yeah.
said she was going to make our own TV
Dinners. Good for her.
Especially after Thanksgiving, or Christmas. We would put the TV dinners like in just frozen turkey in a ball of potatoes.
Right.
Yeah, those were we didn't have the money to waste on all that
no, exactly.
processed food. So it's really created a good foundation for us, hasn't it? I think that kind of upbringing. And now we're going all the way around full circle for people to wake up and realize that they are responsible for what they're eating.
I know we're still over sugared, over caffeinated, over junk food,
Overstimulated.
Yeah, we don't need that coffee on the way to work. If you wake up in the morning and you can't function without a coffee, you've got a bit of a problem.
We need to call a functional medicine doctor.
That's
and
right.
Find out what's the bigger problem. It could be your thyroid, like my case, or it could be, some other system issue. I'm a proponent going to fix the core. Let's find the root cause. Of something.
Exactly. And, in order to be healthy, I imagine a tree. So the roots are the causes and the fruit that you yield is going to be either disease or health, depending on what the roots are. So for example, if you've got fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, cancer, heart disease, those are the leaves, what your body's yielding, but the causes are parasites, fungus, mold, unresolved emotional issues, lack of sleep, poor exercise, water, so you have to address those root causes in order to yield a happy branches of happy health and not disease.
Yeah, you're so right, boy. As you mentioned those, I was in my mind checking the boxes. Yep, I had all those way back in the 90s. And I have to say too, as human beings, there's an ebb and a flow. So, there's certain times where you get yourself going good, and then the career's going great, and the family and all that, and then you slack off in some of those areas perhaps, and then or there's another issue that pops up. So there's an ebb and a flow. Okay, now I've got to come back, I've got to reassess things, I've got some different issues now, how do I fix that? That's where I'm at right now in my own health. And so I think it's, I think I got cocky for a long time, thinking I could just continue eating whatever I thought was good for my body, but my body changed, and that required me to change that whole perspective and sort of troubleshoot the problem again. So I think that's important to just sort of stay in that rhythm, being and learning what your body can handle. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I totally agree with you. We're all unique, have our own unique imprint. And what you may need more of this, and I may need more of that. I mean, it just really depends.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we age too, there becomes a lot of variables and I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people aren't taking into consideration is the electronics, because my grandmother never had to deal with that. Yes, she grew her own food, and she had very, whole foods in every meal, and she ate a lot for a thin woman, but we aren't able to do that anymore. We think that if we eat a lot, we're going to get fat. And I know the whole movement around, when was that? Maybe 20 years ago, about the non-fat this and the non-fat that.
Yeah, we need fat though, unfortunately. But
I'm noticing as I increase that, I'm actually more alert. I'm more able to focus, surprisingly. But I had also at some level been programmed about the fat, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You see enough commercials, you see all the skinny girls, you see all these models and all of these representatives of what is the perfect image. And then you think, well, if I have fat, I'll get fat. Yeah. So what type of work are you doing now with your clients? How are you helping them?
I'm helping them, I guess you would say, on the mental and emotional levels, how to increase happiness in their daily lives. So, like, for example, I'm starting a campaign, more love, more hugs, more gratitude, more kindness, more random acts of kindness, more self-care. Because the more you give, the more you're going to feel better. Unfortunately, genetically, we are predispositioned by 50% on our happiness level, so to speak. 40% is life circumstances, and 10% is habits. So, according to epigenetics, you can change gene expression.
Oh yeah, Dr. Bruce Lipton, right? He was
right.
The biology of belief.
So, focus on either your environment or your habits. So stop blaming, shaming, and complaining. The first thing, when you get a phone call from somebody that you haven't spoken to in a while, or you call them, the first thing they do is they're going to complain about something. Didn't get the house, the car broke down, didn't get the scholarship, we have to move. People are always complaining. So when I call, or somebody calls me, I say, good news first, please. We don't often share good news with our friends unless, say, you book a #1 on Amazon or whatever. But usually, even the small good news, we don't typically share with all our friends, but we always will share the bad stuff, and that really suppresses your life force. So,
on that note, what I've noticed is I recently shared some good news, and people, they might give an expected congratulations, but that's it.
That's right.
It's almost like they can't celebrate the goodness with you, or they're comparing themselves to where they're at or not they're at. So people have gotten to so self-absorbed or so consumed with their own negativity that they can't trigger that happiness switch to just go, hey, let's celebrate for no reason.
Yeah, I know, because it has become a habit, because you're surrounded by it. In everything negative, there is something positive to be gleaned. Like, for example, with my cancer diagnosis or with your health challenges, you found a way to, and now you are inspiring other people to do likewise. People are complaining cost of gas or the cost of food. I say, well, be grateful you've got the money for it.
Yeah. And I don't even notice
if you
it.
lost
I
your,
don't even notice it. It's just like, you're going to need gas, get it.
I
Figure
know
out another way to
exactly.
make more money.
Yeah, like, complain. It was going to rain today. We need the rain. Be grateful that the flowers will
Right,
grow, the
right.
grass will green,
But it's a
Just,
pattern, isn't it, Alexi? It's a pattern that people might not even realize they're
oh,
stuck.
absolutely. They don't realize exactly. Like, for example, if I can share, like some people have parents or grandparents that were always happy and they were always smiling. But in this particular instance, this little girl, her grandfather takes her out every Sunday for their afternoon cookies and ice cream, and they go for a long drive. And so this one particular Sunday, he's sick, so he asks grandma to take them. So grandma and the little girl go off for their Sunday afternoon drive, and then they come back. The little girl goes running up to her grandfather, who's still in bed, and the grandfather says, and so how was that? And she says, there were no horse asses, sons of bitch, or tree huggers. All grandma did was smile and wave at everybody. So it's all about habit.
Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute. Yeah. So she thought she was having a good time with grandpa, but he was programming her little mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of assholes on the road, I noticed. But it's so much fun to laugh at it instead of, ruining your day.
Oh, no, absolutely. And wave them, send them a kiss or whatever. Just, you never know, because you never know what's going on in their life. They may have a
That's
smile
so
on their
true.
face, but you don't know. Maybe they lost a loved one. Maybe somebody died.
Yeah,
So
and that's what I teach in my work is, like, what if they just lost the love of their life yesterday? Or what
that's
if
right.
they just got this cancer diagnosis and they don't know who to call, or they trust their
Exactly.
doctor, but their doctor's just giving them a real, yeah. And so that helps us to it helps us cultivate compassion and
Mhm.
realize that we don't have to be the effect of that.
That's
So
right.
how did you get on this happiness kick?
I've had a very much of an interest in actually a practice sort of where I approach strangers at the dog park, at the grocery store, at the ATM machine, and I proceed to tell them a joke because I really enjoyed it. But how that happened was I used to work as a chef at remote fishing lodges across Canada in the summertime. So it was like 2 months to 4 months. And so this one particular lodge, I worked there for 4 summers. 90% of their clients were repeats who are now bringing their grandsons.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So they're now like in their 70s or 80s. And so I would go and talk to the fishermen after dinner was served or while dinner was being served. And what am I going to talk to them about? Fishing? No. So I started telling jokes. And so then I started accumulating jokes. And so every year they go, Alexi, do you have jokes? And so it became a habit. And so now I'm on Zoom calls, like I said, in parks, grocery stores, ATM machines, after speaking to a service provider on the phone, somebody in the elevator, somebody waiting at the bus stop. I say, can I put a chuckle in your heart? Because everybody can use a bit of laughter, because laughter has been shown to promote longevity.
Yeah, it raises your vibration, and amusement is one of the highest frequencies that our body can contain.
And then another thing that really inspired me to coin a chuckle in your heart, Ryan Estes, who's a well-respected motivational speaker, shared a story where it's Christmas Eve. He's flying home. He figures the airport's going to be really busy, so he arrives 2 hours earlier. There's nobody there. So he heads off to his favorite place, the coffee shop. And so the barista is having a really animated conversation with the woman in front of him. And so he's listening to what they're saying. And then it's his turn. And she says, my name is Lisa. What's your name? And he sort of just sheepishly replies, my name is Ryan. And she says, what can I get you, Ryan? And he says, I want that double pumpkin spice latte. And she goes, and you want extra whipped cream on it? And he goes, yeah. And she says, and well, I'll tell you what, I'll make it extra hot and I'll even put some sparkles on it. And so they're continuing and having a lively conversation. And she says, so you're going home for Christmas? And he goes, yes. And so as she's serving him his coffee, she says, Ryan, when you are back in this airport on your way home after Christmas holidays, I want you to stop by and tell me what Christmas memories you created. And so he takes his coffee and he walks away and he's thinking, it's Christmas Eve. What gives? This woman she's only serving coffee. So he goes back to her and he says, Lisa, can I ask you, what you're only serving coffee in a coffee shop on Christmas Eve? What makes you so animated? And she says, I'm not serving coffee. I'm pouring happiness into people's lives.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so powerful.
So I just pour a little bit of happiness into people's lives, strangers that I meet. And, through my programs, just people to identify the habits that are maybe holding them back and how they can incorporate it, eat healthier, sleep better, because people that are happy live 9 years longer. Their cortisol levels are lower. They sleep better. They're happy people. You want to be around happy people, not grumpy people. So,
And it's
it's
such
the
a
ripple
small
effect.
thing. Yeah, it's so powerful and such a small thing. I look around at any of the service people or cashiers or whatever anybody's doing. Boy, they could sure take Lisa's lesson to heart and make everybody's day a better day, right?
Yeah, I know. It just,
Such a
you know,
simple thing for us to incorporate.
just even a smile, just a
Right,
smile, you know.
right.
If I see somebody sitting there or standing or waiting, and I go, what can make your day better? And then they light up, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So smiles are contagious. So share freely.
One thing that I noticed moving to the Middle East was common, and they had forgotten this I don't know if in Canada they're doing this anymore, but used to be. People stop saying, they say, how are you? But they're fiddling with their phone or they're moving whatever they're doing. They're not connecting and they're not looking at the person. How are you? And really mean it.
That's right.
And the other thing they would do is every text message or email, they would give it these beautiful beginnings. How are you doing? And then they'd get into the conversation. But we stopped doing that here in the West.
I totally
And
agree with
paying
you.
attention, just giving a moment to really check in with somebody and, meet them in a grounded place and really like, I get you, I'm here with you.
Yeah, I heard a great speaker the other day. He was talking about how to network. So the same can be applied on a one-to-one as in a networking meeting. Be interested, not interesting. Be really interested in what the other person is saying, not blurbing your story, whether it's good or bad, but, give the person the benefit, the courtesy that you're important. I want to listen to you, share with me.
Right. Yeah, it totally turns the table, doesn't it?
Yes.
And it really gives you more as a result. It's a fascinating thing. I find it fascinating that you remember jokes so well, because I suck at that.
Oh, I just have so many of them. I just, somebody says, oh, what's your joke today? And I have to remember, okay, did I tell them this one or should I do another one? And then depending on the audience, like say if it's people from another country, they may not know what some of the terminology
Right.
is or whatever. So you have to sort of streamline it to your audience.
Right. Yeah. I only remember one joke about bird farts. It's like my kindergarten joke. And a lot of people roll their eyes. They don't seem to like it, but I like it. Yeah. So who are some of the other happy people that have inspired you along the way, Alexi?
Well, definitely Robin Williams, because
Okay.
I love a quote that he came out with. He said, I may not have made a really big difference, but I do know I made a lot of people much happier. And for that, I am internally grateful. That is all I need.
Well, that's making a difference, isn't it?
Exactly. So, I say to people, what is one thing you can do that will impact the world with the skills that you have, that you will wake up inspired in the morning, and when you leave this earth plane, you know it will have been a better place.
So true.
You know, any of the great, like Brother Randall Stat, he always talks about a great day. Be grateful for the great day. There's people that are inspirational, made a difference, whether it's Martin Luther King or the Dalai Lama or Thich Khan. They all live from a place of love, compassion, happiness, sharing the good verb, the good word, the energy, that frequency that we are so badly lacking.
Yeah. What I like about the Dalai Lama is he's always chuckling.
That's right.
Like if somebody drops something or they're handing him let's say they're handing him a pen and they drop the pen, he'd just laugh at it. He's laughing at everything. And that's one of the skills that we do cultivate in my trainings too, is how can we increase that frequency? You might not, like, you're amazing that you can remember these jokes, but not everybody has that skill. But you can still bring that frequency into your space, and it changes everything. It changes how you focus. It changes your tone. It changes how you respond, how you move, how you contribute to the world. Yeah, it's just a frequency.
That's right. And give compliments. I love your smile. I like your dress. You look great today. I love the haircut. You've got beautiful blue eyes. People like to hear praise about themselves, and you feel good delivering it as people do receiving it. There's always some kind of compliment you can give to everybody you meet. Everybody.
Now, you're living in Ontario, right?
Yes.
So when you go out in your day, do you find that a lot of people compliment you?
No.
That's right. And
okay. Who they compliment is my dogs, because I'm walking my dogs.
Okay.
And they'll say, "Oh, your dogs are so beautiful." I say it runs in the family.
Do you look like your dog? Like everybody seems to look like their dog?
but then the next time they're going to see those dogs, they're going to remember what I said. And it's going to put a smile on their face.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I love that. So people aren't comfortable saying it to each other.
Not usually,
Right.
They don't.
And so in Southern California, it was horrible. I started noticing the attitude that I experienced with people just out and about, like in the park or on a trail. Usually people are super friendly. That's what I've always noticed. But I'll tell you what, moving here to Southern Cal, I'm in Central Texas now. It has been a night and day experience. And almost everywhere I go, somebody compliments me on something.
Wow.
And that's one thing that I noticed. So is it an energy of more people are content just in this whole area, that they're more satisfied with their life and what they're creating? That was a shocking difference every single day.
Wow, that is lovely.
It is lovely. It's like, wow, I sure love this. People just getting in and out of their car and they'll say, "Hey, have a good day." Like, yeah, you talk to me. Yeah. Like I, as a born Canadian, I'm talking to everybody anyway, but people in other parts of the world don't do that. You notice that probably, Alexi.
That's right. Yeah, like eyes cast, no eye contact.
Oh, yeah.
Keep to themselves. Yeah, I know.
Well, and so you're doing a great job shifting that. And even if they've got their eyes down on the trail, by saying, "Hey, I love your, green jacket,"
whatever.
Oh, thank you. They're feeling awkward about it, but that's not your problem.
Right. I know. There's just, like they say, random acts of kindness, random acts of gratitude, random acts of happiness. Spread it around. It makes you feel so much better. And then the ripple effect to other people.
It sure does. A ripple effect, the butterfly effect, as they say. So, Alexi, I know that you've got some programs. Would you like to share how people can get a hold of you and or some programs that you're offering?
Well, happiness as a lifestyle is one of them. I'm looking to do a retreat in the summertime, focusing on changing your emotional wellness blueprint to one of more fluidity, less conflict, new tools, how you can impact the world around you when you go home and maintain those same habits with you. I'm looking to be on more podcast stages, and I'm going to be starting my own podcast show, Mission Happiness. And
Awesome.
so the best place to reach me is go to my LinkedIn profile, or you can just email me.
I'll put the links for your email and
Yeah.
LinkedIn, etc. below. Yeah.
And then, yeah, just, keep that happiness movement going. And I'm going to compile a book on jokes, and I'm going to give it to some charity,
Oh, lovely.
probably an animal charity. So if people like to contribute jokes, I'd be more than delighted.
Because your dog's beauty runs in the family.
Well, that's right, and then another thing, they're petting the dogs, and I go, if I get on all fours, will you pet me too? And so, so it just makes people laugh and smile. And when I've got the dogs on a leash, and say we're in an elevator, and there's somebody on the elevator with a small child, and my dogs will always sit because I'll give them a treat, and the little boy's looking, like a 4-year-old boy is looking, and I'll go, would you like one? Would you want to give the dogs a treat? And they just absolutely love it. Or in the park.
Oh, yeah.
And then if there's an adult watching, I go, do you want one too? It makes them laugh.
Human. I like that.
I
You
know,
had a
human.
little
I know.
slip there.
Yeah, that's right. Human.
That's okay. Do you have pictures of your dogs? Can we
Yes,
see?
I do.
Okay. Can you show us? Or what type of dogs do you have?
Wheaten Terriers.
Wheaten Terriers. Oh.
Yeah. So
How many? How many do you have?
Two.
And what are their names?
Dublin and Rory, because they're Irish dogs.
Oh, okay. Rory.
And they're a non-shedding breed, so it's great.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, I'd love to see some pictures.
Yeah,
We don't have them handy. Well, they're I can hear their little spirit wanting attention because they're sensing that we've been talking about them. So
yeah,
clever little guys.
Yeah. Okay, so if I may share, a lady or a guy has a golden retriever puppy, and he wants to teach it how to stay in the car. So he pulls into a busy shopping mall parking lot. He parks the car, rolls down the windows a bit so the puppy can breathe. The puppy sprawled out in the back seats. And so he gets out of the car, and he's walking backwards with his hand in front of him. And he says, now you stay. And he looks over his shoulder, and he sees a blonde driving by with a puzzled look on her face. And she says, why don't you just put it in park?
I love that. That's great. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lexi, for joining me here today. I've loved our conversation. So wonderful meeting someone that's been on the path, a long path of healing, and knows the pitfalls and where to find the answers. So thank you for that. And I'll look forward to putting your details for our listeners to reach out to you. And so if anybody has any comments, please comment below. I'd love for you to share what you're noticing and what you've been experiencing in your own detox journey. So thanks again, Lexi. We'll have to do this again soon.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And keep smiling.
Yeah, smiling. Amusement is healing. Happiness is health, as Lexi says. All right. Have a great day, everybody. I'll look forward to seeing you back weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. And until then, shine bright and smile even bigger. Thanks so much.